Good morning, everybody. How you doing? In case you can't tell, I'm back at home, man. Oh my gosh, I love being home. Love what I get to do on the road. Love the amazing people I get to be with. Love visiting my daughter in Texas, Brady and Ruth and the kids. And whatever. Whatever. God's just good. But excited about being home. Excited about what we're going to talk about today. Last week, Gus and I read to Gus, my grandson, out in Texas. We read The Three Little Pigs, and I asked you to think about what spiritual principles you could draw from that story. And I know it's kind of an odd thing, but let me read you a scripture that, again, just sort of nudges us in the direction that we're always trying to move. And that is, what's keeping us from getting into enjoying and living the life that is available to us because of what Jesus did for us. So, excuse me, 1 Corinthians 10, man. 1 Corinthians 10, 1 through 6, and then we're going to throw in verse 11. So just let me read it, and then we'll talk a little bit. For I don't want you to be unaware, brothers and sisters, that our fathers were all under the cloud, all passed through the sea. And in case you can't tell, I'm emphasizing the word all. And all were baptized into Moses in the cloud and the sea. All ate the same spiritual food, and all drank the same spiritual drink. For they were drinking from a spiritual rock which followed them, and the rock was Christ. So you got this deal where all of them had this shared experience. In the strictest sense, the core foundational precepts of Christianity, we all kind of experience in the same way. The need to be born again and things of that sort, and how the children of Israel's journey kind of choreographs or flannel boards, if you will, that whole journey. So he's talking about that everybody, all of them, were under the cloud. All of them passed the sea. And these, in case you don't know, these are references to the cloud that led them by day and the fire that led them by night. And then, of course, the crossing of the sea, the parting of the sea. They were all baptized into Moses in the cloud and in the sea. And all ate the same spiritual food, manna, etc. And all drank the same spiritual drink. Remember when he struck the rock and water came out of the rock? Excuse me, I don't know where the cough jumped on me. Nevertheless, verse 5, nevertheless, this is such a sad verse. Nevertheless, with most of them, God was not well pleased. Why? For they were laid low in the wilderness. Came out of Egypt, were meant to go into the promised land. Promised land, remember, for us is not a geographical place, but a way of life. And they were meant to go from Egypt through the wilderness. Most people say it's about a 2-week journey and into the promised land. And what happened is they ended up spending a generation, 40 years, in the wilderness. And for verse 5 again, nevertheless, with most of them, God was not well pleased, for they were laid low in the wilderness. The bottom line is that means to be just kind of strewn, just scattered, meaning, bottom line is, they died at the threshold. They fell down to not get up right before they were about to enter the promised land. I mean, right at the threshold of the life that God had planned for them and their children and their children's children. So, kind of that's, in a sense, that's what we're always talking about. What keeps us from crossing the threshold into that next season of growth, that next season of receiving and enjoying and walking in the health, the vitality, the emotional stability that God would have us walk in. And interestingly, verse 6 says, now these things happened as examples for us. These things happen as examples for us. I love to play with words. You've heard me say that before. That word example, and I just took the Strong's Concordance and just played with some of the different ways that you can define the word example here. And here's one way you could define it. It's a figure, statue, or model formed by striking. That's a fascinating little thought right there. Formed by striking for the purpose of instructing or warning those who follow after. In other words, an example is an object of some kind that's visible to the eye that was formed by what you might call the blows of life, the hammer strokes of life. In other words, Christianity's meant to work. It's meant to affect how your life goes and how your life outcomes land and so this is this example. These things happen as an example for us. How wait till we read verse 11. You'll see it even more clearly. So again, it's some kind of a model, prototype, expression formed by striking for the purpose of instructing and warning those who come after. So I love the whole journey of the children of Israel because it's such an amazing, like this cosmic flannel graph, old Sunday school stuff, about how God gets us where he's trying to get us. Very important thought, Deuteronomy 6:23. Cool thought, one of my favorite thoughts because you'll see why. Clearly says God brought us out. This is back in Deuteronomy. God brought us out of Egypt. But it says God brought us out so that he could bring us in. Brought us out. Oh, okay, I'm saved. I'm going to go to heaven when I die. No, please, don't stop there. He brought you out of slavery to sin and self and all that to bring you into, in this lifetime, breathing this air, to bring you into a lifestyle that is beyond description. It's just beyond words. So please don't ever let anybody talk you into, I'm a Christian now, I can chill till I get to heaven. Get after it, man. Get after growing. Get after getting a hold of everything Jesus wants you to have, because it's bottomless, man. It is bottomless. So what we're going to do as we get into the next week is we're going to revisit the Three Little Pigs. I'm not going to read it again, I don't think. But here's the thing. Could it be that and many others? I mean, who cares where it comes from? But an example, in other words, a model of some kind that instructs or warns those who come after, and it helps them on their journey into and toward everything that God has for them. And I want you to get it, man. I want to get all I can. You've heard me say this before. I think a great prayer to pray is this. God, I don't want anything you don't want me to have. I don't want anything you don't want me to have. But I want everything you want me to have. And by your grace and mercy and your power at work in me, I'm going to go after it. Because I want everything that you want me to have. Bless you guys. Love you. And we're going to keep going and get into this more next week. All right? Love you guys. Bye.